Since 2019, I've meditated for 2,000 plus days and counting. I basically haven't missed a day since I started. And while, as you might imagine, it's changed my life and I love it, and I've found so many positive benefits of it, there are some areas where I'm still struggling and continue to work on. And before I get into the benefits and those areas where I'm still struggling, I think it's important to give you a little bit of the background story and how I got there. But if you're more interested in just reading or checking out the benefits and the struggles, I've left some timestamps below to make it a bit easier. Back in 2019, I was dealing with some real severe anxiety, stress, and mild depression, I would say. Leading up to that, for years, I had tried lots of different techniques and courses, traditional, non-traditional, and none of them really worked, and none of them really kept me feeling good about myself more than maybe a day or a couple hours or maybe 2 days or 3 days max. I would go back to feeling low and anxious and stressed, and this noise in my head, this voice in my head was just so strong. And I had heard about Vipassana meditation before. I had heard about these 10-day silent meditation retreats, and they sounded interesting. Maybe I just didn't have the time, or I was exploring other modalities or whatever, and I just didn't get a chance to do it. But finally, I said in 2019, I got to do it. The anxiety was just getting too much. I was at a new job that was very stressful. I had a partner that I had been seeing for a little bit of time that, we had our challenges, and I decided, well, let me try to do this. I think this could be good and very healthy, and maybe the solution I'm looking for, because I had heard about meditation already, and I had heard about the benefits of meditation. And saw the science that was showing that it was positive. But while I had tried it, by reading a book or taking, a class at a yoga studio or whatever, none of it really stuck. So I could tell that I probably wasn't doing meditation right. It seemed like a hard skill to learn. And so I thought, okay, well, if anything's going to work, it's probably going to be this. Meditation is, like I said, the science seems to prove it works. And doing anything for 10 days, whether it's meditation or if you're trying to learn a language or, learn to cook for 10 days and you're just doing that and nothing else, probably by the end of the 10 days, you'll maybe not be a master at it, but you'll have learned a skill. That was my theory. And so I was like, okay, I signed up. It took a couple months to, the courses, you have to plan pretty far in advance, like 3 or 4 months in advance. They get booked up. I found a course in Mexico. I wanted to get out of the States for it. I thought make it a little mini vacation, even though for a lot of it I would be indoors, silent, and with my eyes closed. But I'd been to Mexico a few times, so I thought, okay, well, I won't miss out too much. And it was a short flight from New York. And so I went down to Mexico. It was a couple hours outside of Mexico City was the center. And pretty early on in the course, I could tell this was what I was looking for. I remember on the first day, a recording of the teacher. It's primarily just recordings of the teacher explaining the technique and why you're doing it. And so in the evening, there's a evening discourse. And the teacher explained that this type of meditation was designed to go really deep to the core, or, to the root where our suffering comes from. Not, the surface level or our mind to make us more calm and peaceful for a little bit of time, but to really go to the root and take the roots out of that suffering so that we no longer suffer. And to me, that made sense because I could tell that a lot of these other practices I was doing was just calming me down for a little bit of time. I was feeling good for a short period of time, but not really changing, the circuits or the wiring of my mind at the root level, at the unconscious level. And so after I heard that, I was already enthusiastic about doing the course, but it was even more committed. I was waking up early, being one of the first people into the center, and I was usually one of the last people to leave the course, leave each session, because there are multiple sessions throughout the day. Meditate for an hour, take a break, meditate for 2 hours, take a break, type of thing. So I was usually one of the first people to enter and to leave. I really wanted to get the most of my 10 days there. And while at first I was a little slow to I felt like I was slow to pick it up. Like I really couldn't meditate. I'm focused on my breath, which is what you focus on initially for very long, maybe for a second, but most of the time I was not focused on that. Maybe a second here, a second there, 2 seconds there, 2 seconds there. Just, I wasn't really getting it. But slowly by day two, maybe the second half of day two, I was getting it. I was like, okay, 3 seconds here, 3 seconds there, 5 seconds, 10 seconds. I was sort of getting the momentum. By day 3 or 4, I was like, okay, I'm really getting it. And I was feeling good. I was like, the teacher was talking about stuff, and I was like, oh yeah, that happened. I did this, and I facing that challenge, and he was answering it. I was like, okay, I think I'm getting this. I was feeling excited. That was also motivating me more to like practice, and to be diligent to practice, even when I wasn't in the meditation hall, maybe as I was eating or walking. And then by day 7 or 8, I really felt it. Finally, for the first time in my life, the noise in my head, all this chatter in my head, this cruel words that I was saying to myself throughout my days, like, you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, you should have said this, you should have done that. Finally, that voice disappeared, and I was just quiet. And I, to this day, that was one of the greatest moments of my life. I finally felt like I'd found what I was looking for, and I was crying. I was in tears of joy. And I was so grateful for my friends and family, for all their support over the years, for some of my friends for chipping in a little bit of money to help me fly down there. The course is totally free, but just to get there. For all the love and support I've gotten from so many different people in my life. I felt it in that moment. I just was so grateful just to be at that pinnacle in my life. And I kept with it, and the course wrapped up, and it was amazing. I felt good. I was very determined to sort of stick with it. The teacher encourages you to do 2 hours a day. That's sort of like the real practice begins. I didn't think I could do that. I was one of those busy New Yorkers, busy career, busy social life. I thought, okay, maybe I could do 20 minutes in the morning, in the evening, or 30 minutes here and there. But I remember my teacher distinctly saying, if you can stick with doing the practice for 1 year, 1 hour in the morning, 1 hour in the evening, if you can stick with doing that for 1 year, you'll be able to do it for the rest of your life. And I thought to myself, well, if I do something for 1 year and then for the rest of my life, I have that skill and I have that practice, like that seems like a worthy investment, like, just kind of just the input versus output. And so I stuck with it for a year, but I actually did do a follow-up course in India, maybe 6 or 7 months later. I had some international travel plans, and I was going to see my family in India. And I said, why don't I just add in a course while I'm there in India where all this meditation comes from? And that was great. I could tell that there were some parts of my practice that I wasn't super clear about. And I felt like, doing a second course pretty soon after would reinforce and clarify and solidify. And I also had the additional benefit when I was at the course to meet the most senior meditator. He was for the first student in the seats. That's how you sort of can tell. And we chatted after the course, and he was so helpful. He answered so many questions. He gave me so much background about the meditation. He was also a former Buddhist monk. And so he gave me some of the context of the meditation that the course doesn't really go into, because they want to make it open for everybody, of any religious background or situation. And so they avoid going into that kind of religious stuff too much. There's a little bit of it, but not, mostly just to give context. And because I was interested and I was open, he provided that context that was missing. And that really reinforced also, once again, that what I was doing seemed right and logical, and it was helpful, and it answered some big questions about life that I was asking and I was wondering about. And so all those things combined really just made the practice make total sense for what I was seeking and where I was in life. And I've stuck with it since. I've meditated I think every single day since, my first course, usually 2 hours a day. I can actually remember one particular day I skipped. I think maybe a year and a half after I started, I was in Mexico, and my partner and I at the time, we both got dengue fever from a mosquito, and I was knocked out for 15 days. And I think I remember one day, during that sickness where I couldn't meditate at all. I really couldn't do anything of logic. I think I barely ate that day as well. But other than that, I've stuck with it, and I haven't regretted it at all. The benefits have been really, quite a lot. And, I would say the first benefit I noticed was just feeling happier. Like I said earlier, that voice in my head disappeared, and I was just feeling present. I was just with the practice. I was just meditating, and that made me happier, because usually that voice was just making me feel down about myself. I also felt calmer. The meditation is so much is about calming your mind. And, when you don't have that voice or anxiety, you can just naturally feel calmer. And number three, I would say, is kinder and more generous. Just when you're feeling good about yourself, you've done a lot of internal work, you can, for the first time, look at the outside world like I did on, I think it's 7 or 8, and I'm just feeling so much gratitude. You can see the outside world and all the love and support you're getting around you. You can also understand what people are facing because you've gone through a lot of that through the work of meditating, and meditating very deeply. And you can come to other people with kindness and generosity. Number 4, I would say more focused. So much about meditation is about focusing on your breath, your sensations. And so when you're doing that for any period of time consistently, that same focus can apply into your work and into your life. Number 5, more confident and self-love in general. When you've done a lot of that internal work, you're feeling happy, it's just natural to have more confidence and appreciate yourself and seeing the benefits that you bring to the world. And that gives you that self-love that I was certainly lacking, and I think many people lack as well. Number 6, we're determined. Meditation is a hard skill to learn. It's not easy. I think that's why 10 days is so important. But once you do, and you keep applying that same, showing up to practice every day, that same determination that you learn and develop while practicing meditation can apply to your daily life as well. Number 7, funnier. I'm still no stand-up comedian, but when you're feeling good, you're feeling confident, you're in the moment, you're present, it's natural to be a little bit more spontaneous and off the cuff. Number 8, more creative. Yes. Creativity is so much about putting pieces together that other people haven't figured out, mashing 2 ideas together that maybe other people haven't, or multiple ideas that other people haven't seen as possibly going together. It's about listening. It's about being present. And meditation is about being present. So when you are and you're practicing that, it's much more easy to be creative. And I would say the last benefit is more capable. When you are capable of being focused, right? You learn that skill of focus that meditation teaches you. When you are calmer and feeling more confident about yourself, and you can apply that focus and that calmness towards anything in your life, you can be more capable, right? You can solve problems that perhaps in the past would hold you back. So there's a lot of benefits, as you can tell, of practicing meditation and practicing it regularly. That said, there are still parts of my life that I'm challenged with. And currently, there are probably 3 parts that come to mind the most. I would say my anxiety. While that's definitely far less than it used to be, I still have moments where I'm anxious and, I hesitate. I would say number 2, I'm not as confident, or I play it small, I would say, in certain situations. I can walk into a room or be around somebody that maybe, for whatever reason, I don't feel as confident about myself as I should, and I play it small. And then lastly, I would say I have moments where I'm a little bit too much in my head than I should be, overanalyzing, overthinking. But if all these areas were like, I say, a 7, 8, or 9 in the past, they're more like a 3 or 4. So overnight difference, they're really a dramatic difference because of meditation. So I can't recommend it enough. I think doing a class or workshop, if you can, like a 10-day silent meditation retreat is awesome. It's amazing. But if you can't, you have to grab a book or use an app, that's a good place to start. And I think the most important thing is just trying to show up and practice consistently. If there's just more days that you are practicing, even if it's just for a few minutes, then missing over time, the benefits of meditation will show up. If this video has been helpful, please give it a like. If you have any questions or comments, be happy to reply. Just leave a comment below. And if you're looking to live more intentionally, please subscribe to the channel. Thanks.